Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Boring Show. I'm Filip.
And I'm Fitz.
Today, we have an interesting little kind of retrospective kind of thing, because the first ever Boring Show was recorded many years ago in 2018, and the first episode was building a Hacker News app. And then in other episodes, we kind of added to it. And now we realize, oh, we haven't touched this app for like a long time. Let's revisit and see how it works today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and just run the app. I don't have high hopes for it. And then we will use this 1 hour, hopefully less, to fix anything that comes up from the, not really maintaining this app for a long time. Let's do it.
Yes.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll just try debugging the app, and this will take some time. So Fitz, what happened since the last time we actually touched this app? Do you know?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think so many things have potentially happened here. You're obviously already getting errors, but the biggest one is null safety that has happened. We've gone from it being an idea that we're talking about to it being in beta and then stable, and then like new projects already have null safety enabled in them. And if you've seen any of our I/O talks or anything like that, you've seen us talk about null safety a lot. And so that's a thing. So a lot of packages have done a lot of work to update to null safety and make their code sound, as it were. And we've not done that for the Hacker News app in any way whatsoever.
Yes.
And so that's one thing. And then like we've got some code generation that'll need to be regenerated and things like that. That's kind of the biggest thing. Lots of other changes here and there have happened.
Yeah, but you're right. Like the most important ones are probably just basically the whole ecosystem shifted because of null safety. And I assume that we like need to wait for at least a few seconds before we get our first error. And it seems like I just started and immediately it failed because we are told, and it's over here, that because analyzer depends on something, blah, 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 we can't really run pubget. Basically, we can't really get our dependencies correctly. And so that seems to me like we need to run pub outdated, I think, the command.
Yeah, I think so. And that'll help us at least try to understand how far behind we are. I think I updated the dependencies on this a long time ago, but like that was a long time ago. So yes. I'm sure things have evolved.
I can see stuff like provider 2.0.
Oh boy.
It's right now it's provider 5 is like the latest. And also the thing that actually like fails right now is we have a dependency override for analyzer. And if I remember correctly, this is because of source generation, because at some point the source generation dependencies like build runner were depending on old versions of analyzer, and it made a lot of different things. I'm not sure which episode of Flutter Boring Show this was, but you could find out about this. Hopefully we can just get rid of this, see what happens when we run pub outdated now. So pub outdated is a command line tool. Let's do it. Flutter pub outdated.
Outdated.
Is that correct?
Should be. And I just want to add, like at a high level, that this starts to feel a little bit like randomly modifying things and seeing what happens. And maybe that is what we're going to do a little bit. We've got a little bit of knowledge about how some of our things have changed. But for most of these, we just want to make sure that the dependency closure, so the calculation of all of the different pub specs saying which versions of the different packages we want to have, make sure all of that is compiles correctly, and then we'll see what actual code changes need to be made after that, because the first step is just to make sure our version numbers are all matching.
Yes.
So
So just looking at the Flutter pub outdated output, it looks like you can see that everything that has an asterisk in front of it is outdated. And you can see this line of outdated packages. Nothing is not outdated, basically.
A lot of stars.
All stars. So yeah, I think there is this Flutter pub upgrade dry run.
So is that upgrade gonna just try to give us the latest version numbers for everything and see what happens?
I think so.
Okay.
Let's try this. Flutter pub upgrade dry run.
Let's see what happens.
Exit con 1. Yeah, this is. So there's this another thing where test. I'm sorry, it's me. The test is. I'm trying to remember. There was like I think if you try to remember like me, and if you can't, then just use the manual. So Flutter pub outdated -- help, and I think there is some way to force or let pub outdated tell us what to do. It's been a long time since I did this, like at least a few months.
Yeah, I'm following along at home so I can check manuals and other...
It's time to go to documentation.
Documentation?
True boring show thing. So this is an overview of pub outdated. There's an example, cool. Dot pub upgrade is what's going on over there. I just want to upgrade everything to the latest version, and I don't know. And we can do it manually, but I'm pretty sure.
But there's a lot of things listed in here.
Yeah.
There's a -- major versions option, which claims, it says upgrade packages to the latest resolvable version and updates pubspec YAML. Maybe.
And this is Flutter pub upgrade, right? Or
upgrade? Yeah, this is upgrade.
I'm trying it now.
Major versions.
Versions.
Plural of versions. What was that error message? Could not find an option. You missed the pub, so Flutter pub upgrade.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Flutter upgrade is upgrading Flutter itself, and Flutter pub upgrade is weirdly upgrading everything else. Oh, this seems to work.
Oh, and that was without dry run, so it just kind of worked.
Cool.
Can you try for me a git diff and see maybe specify pubspec YAML and see like what it changed?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that.
Let's look at this. That's awesome. I don't think I've ever used this before. Okay, so now we have everything upgraded, except of course we don't have, as you can see, in the SDK is still the same, right? So we haven't upgraded anything except the packages themselves. We haven't upgraded to null safety, for example.
Yeah.
So let's see if that helps.
Yeah, does our build work now?
yeah, exactly. And why don't I have this here now? Pubspec YAML, pubget.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
There's a lot of fingers crossing when you're doing dependency management.
It takes a long time, but it finished with exit goes 0.
Okay.
Which means it's happy. reasonably happy. And now let's see if we can just get away with running it. And it's I'm pretty sure not, because I'm already seeing like little red lines everywhere here, starting to, you know, as soon as Dart Analysis Server started figuring out things are changed.
Yeah.
So, but you know, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe we'll get lucky.
Oh no! Okay, I see all the errors.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, so I already see that. So the provider obviously made a few changes since version 2.0. We'll need to do that. Let's make like let's do a review of things that we'll need to fix now. It seems like we are on the latest versions. We're still in non-null safe world, so we can do that. But we have some things to fix. Yes. Most of them looks like are going to be around provider.
Yeah, because I think provider relatively recently, or at least between now and 2.0, made some API changes, some breaking API changes. I mean, obviously, our app is totally broken, so they're definitely breaking changes.
Yes. There is another, the argument type string can be assigned to the parameter type URI. Okay, so that's coming from HTTP. This is package HTTP, I think. That will be easy to fix. The argument types, yeah, this will be very easy to fix, I think. And then the rest is just lint warnings, so it doesn't really matter for us that much.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what's happening over here? Oh, my computer is really struggling now.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I'll save it by just clicking stop. Hopefully that's gonna get a little better. Come on, don't worry.
Just be happy. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up the provider documentation for seeing what changes have been made.
Yes, thank you. I will start with the easy stuff.
Okay.
So at least it looks easier. There seems to be a change in HTTP client, as in this package HTTP, where it no longer accepts a string, but instead wants a URI. And you can create a URI from string pretty easily. You just do URI parse, and you give it a string. So the slowness, by the way, is not on your end; it's on my end.
Okay. Fortunately.
But it looks like things are getting better over here with my computer. So it's all good. I'm just going to update this everywhere, including here. And looks like one part is done.
That was fast. Before I even finished reading the provider documentation, it looks like there's a couple of increments of breaking changes. So we might have to take the changes one by one and leapfrog up to 5.0.
Yes. So what I like to do whenever I have a breaking change like this and I see a bunch of red underlines and everything, is I look at what things are required, and that is often a good indication of what I need to do, like the first thing I need to do. In this case, we had a listenable provider, and it had a builder and a dispose. And it tells me now that there's a parameter that we didn't have before called create, which is required, and we don't provide it. So my first reaction to this is we need to, some of these things will go out probably, and instead we'll add the create one. And if I remember correctly, the main change was before it was we just had a builder, and basically we now have the same thing, except it's now called create. Do you see something like that in the documentation or the changelog? I think it was like pretty far.
Yeah,
maybe like between 2 and 3.
Yeah, the migration from 4 to 5 also mentions it. That there is. Yeah, it's just create, and it just takes in a context and returns. Looks like the future for what you want to return potentially.
You know what I'm doing? Like I'm just renaming everything from builder to create.
Okay.
Please have a look. Please have a look if this is a terrible idea, then we should probably not do that. But so far everything goes away. Everything bad goes away. And so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I
don't do that at home, like, of course. But
I think that's a good start. We'll see if it actually does what we need it to do.
Yeah,
I think one thing that I like to do in these catch-up instances is also a thing about like what the purpose of these things are. In some ways, it's sometimes an opportunity to think about the overall architecture of things. I don't know that we'll do any massive refactoring or massive re-architecting here today, but it's a good opportunity to think like, oh, is that actually the right place for the provider for this thing, or should I move it down in the tree or something like that?
Yeah, no, totally. Like ideally, we would have a good hard think about what these things actually do and why we're just renaming things. Again, I seem to remember a little bit about like, hey, let's not call this builder, let's call it create, because it more resembles what is actually happening there. And so but yeah, ideally I would obviously take a little more time. But we're in a boring show. We can be boring, but not too boring. Let's go ahead and try. It seems like I've fixed all the red lines, all the errors, except for the ones that are in g.dart files. Actually, just one g.dart file, which is over here. And so, for example, you can see that the Moore generator has some implementation errors in it.
Yep.
But if you scroll up, it says generated code, do not modify by hand. And so that tells me go to readme and see how we actually, how do we deal with things that are generated. And it's over here in development. This long line should regenerate the generated files. Let's try it.
Yes. And
you know what? Let's keep it running for a while. I don't know why it would take this long. Oh, you know what? Let's try something like verbose, maybe.
Oh my gosh! There's some output. So it's doing things, but then getting stuck on the build runner. Interesting.
Yes.
I didn't think our generated code was this complicated. That would take a bunch of time.
It definitely isn't.
It's just like parsing some JSON or something, right?
Yeah. I have no idea what's going on here. I'll try to read a little bit of this. It looks like, yeah, nothing jumps out as a problem.
Yeah, it just
you were right about one thing. I could do clean, I think is the right one. So, and see if this at least does something, or if it also stops at the same problem.
Right.
Yeah, build runner clean.
Okay.
So the next thing to try is to look at build runner documentation in case the invocation has changed.
Flutter build runner. I'm on it.
Okay.
So current version is number 2.0.
Okay, let me see if we do that. Have that. Build runner. Yeah, 2.0 far.
Yeah. There's no clean command listed.
Okay, weird.
For build runner. All of the above support delete conflicting outputs.
That's all right.
And that other command we were running was build, right?
Yeah. Let's see if I think these days you can do Flutter pub run. Is it how you run it? Like, does it tell you anything about, like, let's say Flutter pub build runner build or something?
I don't. I'm not seeing an example command that would show me that.
Interesting.
Testing.
I think the moral of the story is you don't want to depend on too many things, including things like build runner. But obviously, like, just so we're clear, I do use build runner in other projects that I have, and I have never seen this particular problem. So I'm not sure if it's just my computer being like really weird now, or if there's something else happening.
Yeah.
But it seems like it should at least like do something or fail.
Yeah, this should. Oh yeah. Okay, there it is. It does say to do pub run build runner, and then you would do one of build or a couple other things. Clean is not one of them. Maybe can we try just like a Flutter clean and see? You can start from a cleaner directory.
Flutter clean?
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to affect the build runner at all, but...
Oh, look at that. Even Flutter clean is taking...
Interesting.
Yeah, my computer.
Because then maybe we can just try Flutter pub run build runner build. And see.
Yeah.
And see what it does after this. Curious that this one's also taking a long time.
Cleaning Xcode workspace taking a long time is something's wrong. And I've literally never seen this before, but what do you do, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere.
We've cleaned.
So you said Flutter
Flutter
pub run?
Yeah, Flutter pub run build runner. And then
so now this is without running Flutter pub get. So let's see if it will immediately tell us to first run pub get, or if it will do it by itself. Oh yeah, okay.
Oh yeah,
something
okay.
Different.
Progress though, it's different. Well, maybe it's not progress. It's at least different.
Yeah. No Dart tool packages config. Yeah. So please run pub get.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. Let's do it. Pub get.
Well, this should succeed just fine because we did all the upgrades and outdated and all that.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's not about pubget at all. It's about something else with build runner. But still, like, it takes 8 seconds to run Flutter pubget. And now let's try it again. Come on.
Fingers crossed. Okay. And we pause on the same place again. Maybe we let it be for a second or two. Or
okay,
8.
let's let it be. Let's let it do its thing. I will put it over here. So we see if things change. And now let's look at other stuff that we have here. So for example, Dart async was once needed if you wanted to use future in your code, but that is maybe 2 years ago. So now we can just remove that. Cool. I love removing lines of code.
Yes, code deleted is code debugged.
Yes, I like that. So title is deprecated and shouldn't be used. Use label instead is what this error says.
Okay, so that almost implies also that label would take just a string instead of a text widget. What's going to happen?
You were right. Can be argument type text can be assigned to the parameter type string. Very good, sir.
That was a total guess, but it came out right.
But well guessed. Well guessed. Let's do the next one. Flat button is deprecated.
Oh, yeah, the buttons.
We have, buttons are completely new, completely different. And I can't remember. There's a raised button. I think it's a text button.
Yeah, I think that's
there's the outline button. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we just probably want a text button here. The terminal changed. I saw it. What happened?
Compiling build script. Yes. Okay, but let's not get distracted by success.
We're talking about buttons.
Yes.
Buttons.
So text button it is now. I think it looks a little different.
Yeah,
and also you style it differently, right?
Yeah, all the ways of styling it were different, and some of that I think was to. There was some inconsistency in how those material buttons were inheriting or not from themes at the top level. So I think the new version of those give you a little bit better control globally of the themes on the buttons.
Yes. No, it was a little weird. Now it's much more clean, and I like it. But it gets, you have to think about things. You now have themes for every, I think, type of button. So it's whoa!
Oh my gosh! That is a lot of errors that just disappeared or reappeared.
No, so I think that this was the part where it just deleted everything, but we were still not getting sidetracked.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And. Wow.
Hey, that's making good.
27 seconds. Let's go to search. And text theme subhead is deprecated. And instead, we now have the modern term is subtitled 1.
Right. And this was a change that I think the material design spec made to make the naming of the different types of text, different sizes and styles of text more up to date and consistent.
Yes.
Another flat button.
And another flat button is now a text button, and it might look differently, but we don't care at this point.
No, we just want it to compile at this point.
Yeah. Text button. I mean, it would compile even with this, right? It's just deprecated, but
that's true.
But yeah. Okay, so now we are still waiting on our little build thing.
Jeez.
Good. All right, let's see if. Oh, and favorite isn't used. I think that was there forever, so we can try running the app now.
Okay.
This might also take some time. What else can we talk about? Well, assuming this works, we were able to go from a very, very, outdated code to code that compiles and runs pretty okay, including a 6-minute wait for something that should have happened in a few seconds. And I think the most important, interesting part was the one with Flutter packages upgrade. Was it Flutter packages upgrade or Flutter pub upgrade -- major versions?
Yes,
that was pretty good.
Yeah, that handled that at least gave us the errors that we had to fix.
Yeah.
But it updated our pub spec rather for us. We just had to go and check some API changes, rebuild some code, and that then sets us up to also then try to tackle things for the future, like using not deprecated buttons and things like that.
Yes. Like before knowing about this Flutter packages upgrade -- major versions thing, I would probably do the ugly thing where I would remove versions from everywhere, try to do pub upgrade, and then go to pub spec log, see what the versions actually were, and then move them over here, which is not fun at all. So this particular little thing really helps a lot. So thank you, Flutter tooling team, for doing that.
Yeah, or would that be the Dart tooling team?
Or Dart tooling team. Yeah, that would be the Dart tooling team, correct.
But yeah, going through and doing this, the resolution of those numbers, it's a very menial task, and it's nice to have a program do that for us instead of ourselves. And then we can focus on whether we actually want to use a text button or a outline button or something else.
Yes. So once again, we're waiting way more than we should have. So,
well, I mean,
what can we do?
Yeah. What could we do?
We could just skip this part.
Skip the running it part.
About something. Yeah.
I mean, the next big upgrade thing would be to upgrade the Dart version itself.
Yes.
And see what, and maybe we can at least preview what Dart migrate is going to tell us. Ooh, what has happened? Build failed. Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
Okay. What's happened?
Oh, so this is with Android manifest. Min SDK version 16 can be smaller than the version 19 declared in library WebView Flutter. Okay, so here's another thing. When you have a really old project like this, the files in iOS and Android and possibly others are also often outdated. And in our case, we have the very good, I think, we are lucky enough that we haven't really done anything in these directories, right? These are the so-called embedders. This is what can run your Flutter app on Android or on iOS. So what we can do is we can Flutter create into this directory. We can literally delete these two subdirectories, and then Flutter create will create these directories again, but they will be up to date to today's standards.
Yeah,
so this is like a little.
And what's happening from this error is that the WebView package itself has its own version of these directories. Because the WebView package itself doesn't do a whole lot. It just delegates down to some platform-specific code to talk to, Android uses one type of WebView, iOS uses another, macOS uses another one, and they all use something different. So really, it's all platform-specific code, and so the WebView Flutter package was like, I'm using Android at least 19, and our version was like, I would like at least 16, and there's a conflict, and that's where the error hits.
Yes. And just to be clear, we could totally just go into the Android subdirectory and try to fix it ourselves, but we have the luck to to not care really what's there because we haven't ever touched it, I hope. So we can recreate it once again.
Yeah,
so
let's just delete a bunch of
both.
stuff and see what happens.
Yeah. So we deleted it, and I'm going to go over here and do the hack, which is flutter create dot, which means do your thing in this directory. Don't create a new one, but do it in HN app. And this will tell me, and again, it will take its time apparently, and it will take me what stuff it created in the directory, and it should.
Yeah, looks like
it also created Mac OS and Windows, but we don't care about that. But Android is there anew. Let's see.
Yeah,
if it worked.
Well, we'll have to wait for Gradle assemble debug to happen again.
Yes.
Which is taking its time even to just show up.
Yeah,
I know. There it comes. But yeah, what I was saying before we saw that build failure was we could try to just see what Dart migrate claims needs to happen for this code.
Yeah, we could you mean give my computer more work?
Yeah, exactly.
While it's doing work?
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, okay.
Sure. Maybe we'll just fizzle out this episode and just slow fade into a beach ball of death.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just I'll catch on fire here because my computer is doing so much work.
This is fine.
Well, it's let's try it. I like the idea. So you were saying something like Dart migrate.
Yeah, isn't there a dry run or something? I think
by default it's a dry run.
Oh, right, because it gives you the
-- apply changes or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's do help first, though. If you're not sure, do help. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's no apply.
Yeah. Apply changes is the part where we can say actually apply changes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Let's do Dart migrate.
Yeah, and then that'll give us should give us a URL that we can open up in a web browser to see what changes it wants to do. But it's going to do a bunch of stuff.
Project. Yes. We might not be able to finish this because I assume there's going to be a few things that we'll need to do with in regards to null safety, and we're already we've already used some time just running Gradle and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's see what it looks like.
Yeah, because like upgrading major version or dependencies or upgrading the major version of your dependencies. Migrating to null safe is a good time to think about your code and think about what's going on. Because Dart migrate will help us get it to compile with sound null safety. But it'll make some decisions that it'll try to make the right decisions and it does a reasonably good job. But then there are some things where we know that this thing will never actually be null, but it's not actually able to figure that out just based on the analysis of the static analysis. And so we'll want to at some point go through and actually say, well, yeah, this actually gets initialized late because it's in a state object and it does get set in the init state rather than the constructor because that's how it happens, and we'll have to make those manual changes. So we'll want to actually take some time to think through those. But at least Dart migrate will tell us at some point when Filip's computer catches up what's actually happening there.
Fun side note, if you see, if you're looking, why would kernel task, what is happening with kernel task? Why is it taking 540% of my whole computer, which means basically 4 cores or 5 cores or more? This is a little known fact. I didn't know this at all before, but if the computer, especially like in this case a Mac, if it gets overheated, it will generate this fake kernel task process, and it will basically give it some like CPU time so that no other process can do that. No other process can go and overheat the computer even more. So at some points it can just say like, kernel task is taking like 80% of all the CPUs on the processor, and so everything else therefore needs to go very slow, as you can see here. So that's why if you do have and
things
have failed
progress
over there. Yeah, progress is one word to say to use.
A change, or is it change? Oh my gosh, it's the same error.
It's the same error. Okay, well, in that case, we need to go through the actual changes over here. I think, is it in settings? Maybe it's in build
it's in one of the build gradles.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's so
it'll be in the app.
Yep, in the apps build gradle rather than the projects.
Okay, so we'll just bump this to 19.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I
would have expected.
Yeah, this to be higher, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's try it again, and hopefully this will work. All right, and during that time, we now have the migration like server running. So I'll open this in my favorite browser. And again, it takes its time.
Well, yeah. It's still happened reasonably.
Yeah, it's fine.
Can you command plus that once or twice?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So, I like to. Where do you like to start when you're migrating? From the bottom or from the top?
I like to start from the top.
Okay. So like main Dart.
Yeah, just
or like.
I like to see. I don't like to actually make the changes in main.dart to start, but I like to see at the top level what it's suggesting and use that as a guide to what for what to actually poke into deeper.
I like that. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up a little more so we can see all the things.
You should be able to, in that right pane, click on the line number and it should be able to jump to it, I think.
Yes. So for example, okay, so we now here it says we're going to assert that page is not null at this point, and I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
What next is okay? So there's snapshot data. This is also fair. If snapshot has data, then for sure it should not be dual. It isn't null.
Right, because that builder is only called when snapshot has data, right? Well, the snapshot's going to be non-null. I don't know about the data.
Yeah, it's actually, yes, the snapshot is not null, and here it even says, has data literally is if data is not null, then be true. So if we go back, this is basically saying if snapshot data isn't null and snapshot data.
I don't know.
Data is it bool? Oh, it is bool. Okay, data is bool in our case. Yes, so we can assert it's not null because this literally checks if data is not null.
Right.
So it's fine.
Yeah.
Here I'm not so sure if title can be ever null, but we have an assertion above here. Assert article.title is not null. So I think we're pretty sure here that it's not.
Yeah, and this might be one. Article is a class that we wrote, right? So we could potentially, I guess it's populated from a JSON deserializer, right? So we don't necessarily know if the title is going to come in.
Oh, yeah, you're right. We should look at maybe that's so. Let's actually maybe go from the other side. So like one other way to look at it is look at the kind of the data classes first, or the things that you use everywhere else, and go from there to from the bottom to the top. So in this case, we have this class that is generated. This is kind of weird. We have nullable here, which is I'm pretty sure this is no longer
right. That was a previous incarnation of
yes, of build.
Yes.
You know what had just happened?
What?
You won't believe it, but
oh my gosh, we're sending files to the device. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I see you don't see it yet here, but you should be seeing it, but we're running.
Whoa.
I don't know why this doesn't this should be showing exactly the same thing that is on this screen. But never mind.
Yeah,
let's see. I think I'll kill this. You will have to trust me that I can actually use the whole thing here. You don't need to trust me. You can see that I'm using it. Things look like they work, even including liking stuff.
What about our text buttons?
Text buttons are kind of weird. You can see that the button over here is visible. But this one isn't.
Oh.
So I think we have some work to do in terms of...
Oh, you got a stack
Ooh,
trace.
We have a... Okay.
Runtime errors.
Okay.
Failed assertion.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, so what's happening? It looks like a nice little thing. Try to listen to a value exposed with provider from outside of the widget tree. This is likely caused by an event handler, like a button's on press, that called provider off without passing listen false.
Yep. That's one of the new changes.
Yes. Then I happen to know what's happening here because provider has added a lot of like these little checks where if you're doing something a little that could get you in trouble, it will just fail immediately. And I think that's a good call. And so if you look at where this actually happened, I think
this would have been that here. Whatever button you tapped was that.
Yes. Handle page change. Now, what you can do with provider is you can do context. I think provider now gives you an extension method. Something like read, and so we can do this instead of that. So what it tells us to do is to do listen false, right?
Yeah.
And I won't get into like why it does it, but it's a good idea. But I think context.read Hacker News notifier is much more readable, and it's basically the same thing. You can either have read or watch. So watch is something that. Yeah.
The read is just doing a one-time fetch of that value, and what a watch is going to be notified of future changes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So we should do this everywhere. Here, for example, it's okay to be actually watching. I'll do this.
Which build
this is equivalent? I'm sorry?
Which build method is this in? Which widget are you in right now?
This is my homepage state, actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. If you're in a build method, then definitely use watch because you want the build method to be rebuilt if something changes. But otherwise, use read. Cool. So that might be one of the problems that we have here. Let me see if I can get Visor to work again.
Yeah, maybe it just needed to refresh.
Aha! Yes.
Look at those lovely fonts. Cool. I wonder who chose them.
Did you?
We chose them together on a previous episode.
Ah, that's right. Yeah. We chose them. Yes.
Yeah.
Aw.
What is that?
Something's wrong. I'm gonna restart.
Huh.
Either there's no top stories. Okay, so and now I'm going to click over here, and nothing.
So there's no news stories. So is that tab bar button at the bottom? That was one of our text buttons, right?
Yeah. And now it's there.
Oh, it just took a while. Oh, so
Weird.
it didn't put up a loading spinner or something, maybe.
Yes.
Interesting.
Weird. I wonder if this is something that we did with the migration, or if it's just something that was always there and we never noticed because we didn't have a slow computer to work with.
I think it's something that has been there. I remember there was some, like there's multiple competing navigators or something. That's another thing we should talk about at some point. But
so yeah.
Go ahead.
You know what I think? Like ideally, at some point we would literally rip out all the features from a Hacker News app that shouldn't be there, because we've kind of we've looked at the Hacker News app as a thing where every new Flutter Boring Show episode we would add some little thing there and explain that little thing throughout the episode. But then the thing would be there forevermore. And it would be a little unwieldy, and you can see that things are not great. So maybe in some future episode we'll just go through this and just remove all the craft and kind of go back to the basics. But what I think we wanted to do today, maybe we'll try and do at least a little bit of it. So now we have everything running, right? Mm-hmm. Things are running basically as well as they were running before, which is great.
Yay, no change.
Yeah, but let's go back to the migration tool and see if we can just very quickly do some little changes and then try to apply the migration and see if our app is running in null safe mode. Mm-hmm. So we said that, for example, this is probably not great. We should probably, I'm not sure how build value works these days with all those. Has the built value package, is that all null safe now? Yeah, I don't know. Let's try it. Let's try it. Yeah. I'm going to say that I want everything that was not marked nullable should not be nullable, and we'll see if the build stuff helps. Yeah. The built value package does have the null safe tag on it, so that's a thing. Yeah. That should be fine. Okay, now I don't know how to. Can you not delete it? You have the double. No. We'll see. So I can rerun this with changes, but first I want to just make sure that everything here that's nullable or non-nullable is correctly non-nullable. Same with favorites. Oh, favorites is something else entirely. Yeah. Serializers. All right. Okay, so only article is like that. So I will rerun with changes. Oh no, this will take some time. It's gonna take a bit. Yeah, it's gotta redo the analysis. Oh, wait, it's already here. Okay, I want to remove this. So let me go to the actual file. Yeah. Where do we have this? This should be in source and article. And you can see that you can actually can be doing this and rerun from sources. Yep.
It wasn't too bad.
All right. Now we should we could look at, like, for example, some more Flutter code, right? So state, there's a nullable list of favorites. I think it could work just with late. Because we are literally Okay, so I'm going to go to the file. It's in pages, favorites, and say late here.
Yeah.
Rerun from sources.
And you're using the comment that is like giving a hint to the Dart migration tool, right?
Yes. I wonder if this will work, but I think it does. Yeah.
I think so.
So, yeah. All right. Anything else here? No. So normally I would spend some time, or we would spend some time and go through all the files, obviously, and see what other things we can reason about and say this is never null and stuff like this. But the migration tool, if we don't do that, will do some kind of, like it will do a job of migrating. So I think we can literally just apply migration, and I'll do that. And it says, okay. And as always, the null safety migration applied. I just kind of like, I think it's a failed opportunity to do some like confetti moment here, because it just like says null migration applied. I think it's a little underwhelming.
It's a very subdued green check mark.
Yes, but you can see that now it's not just a comment. Everything is now actually in the new kind of version, and PubSpec has been edited.
Ooh.
And if we look at PubSpec, we'll see that we are now in SDK 2.12 territory, which means that we are in null safe territory. We'll do pubget again.
Excellent.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah, this should just...
I'm going to...
Hey!
And so I'm going to hot restart, and that's not going to work.
All right, we're going to have to...
So let's rebuild. Oh, we have analysis errors here.
Uh-oh.
If snapshot... Oh. Item builder should never return null. Come on. What is this? That's a bug if I ever saw one. So I'm going to do container this. Yeah. See?
Yep.
Null safety already is giving us...
I was going to say, that's exactly why we do null safety, is so we can catch those things.
Exactly.
What is this one?
So this should never be widget. Oh, and headline apparently can be... Why is it... I wonder why we even have... Oh, okay. Stateful builder. Oh, it's a test. So let's just do this. Right. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're done here, basically, and let's launch it.
Yeah, and it's going to take a moment to do that compile again.
But the good news is that it seems like we're not overheating anymore, so it should be more normal. Now I'm kind of thinking that maybe the real reason why everything was super slow was this visor thing.
Oh.
So.
Because it's better now that you've restarted it.
Yes, much better.
That's funny.
Thanks for nothing, visor.
Yeah, I was running it the other day and also had problems. I wonder if there was a recent update that changed something, because that happened a heck of a lot faster.
Yes. Damn. Well,
but hey.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
We have an error. It seems like. Is it an error?
It's a big error. What is...
It's a long error.
Something about our articles?
Okay. Unimplemented error. Undefined behavior for message. What?
Where did that come from? Whose code is unimplemented?
Yeah, it's weird because it's in UI Dart state CC.
Interesting.
But it's probably not. That's probably not that. I don't believe it. It looks like this is some kind of code. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't rerun the builder.
Oh, you're right. That thing
So
that
let's
took
see.
363,000 milliseconds.
Yes. Let's do it again.
Maybe it'll run better now that Visor's been restarted.
Yes. Maybe not.
And
you never know.
Yeah, well, we tried.
No, but this should be it because we literally did not rerun the generator, and therefore it works with the old non-null safe generated code.
Yeah,
which can be a good thing.
An article was one of the base classes that the generated code was based on. So
yes,
interesting.
All right.
So we stare awkwardly at a unmoving progress bar.
No. Come on.
Oh, wait.
It's we have some progress. It's precompiling the build script. This is the perfect time for some coffee, by the way, or whatever tea, whatever you like to drink. Oh wow, you are prepared
with our matching mugs.
Yes, and it's running build, and yeah.
This all looks normal. Oh. Or wait, severe is not normal.
Yeah. Please make the following changes to use build value. Remove nullable from field deleted. In null safe code add... Okay, so we need to actually remove stuff. All right, let's do that. I know that's kind of...
Yeah.
Nullable.
The question mark means nullable, so this is somewhat redundant. And is it just in that file, or was it somewhere else too?
Let's actually find in files. Find in path, I mean.
It is just in article.
Oh, okay. You're faster than me. Okay, so I'm not sure if.
Wait, is it continuing on its own?
It's continuing. Let's kill it.
Okay.
And let's do it again. You know what? I'm gonna kill Visor for now.
See if that gives us some more CPU power.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm hoping.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe yes. There it goes. That was a little bit better.
It is. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Another tip today. It's full of weird little tips is to just kill things when you're compiling. I guess it's kind of self-explanatory, or obvious, but yeah. And by the way, this is not like a slow computer. This is a fast computer, but you can see how thermals make a big difference. If I had iSpec under the whole computer, I think it would run much faster.
Well, I think it's also partially an artifact of generating code, because you end up dealing with a large number of small files, and it is horribly inefficient. You cause the CPU to thrash and context switch constantly, and so if you have something like a ton of small files, that's going to cause your CPU to do nothing but swapping things in and out.
Yes. And look at that. We have another called bug, which was where we were like, oh, we'll just assign URL to favorite, articulate URL to favorite, and we didn't think that it might be null. So I'm going to just do this.
Yeah.
And let's see what else do we have here. Okay, there was another bank operator. There's also this where we are saying, like, if the body isn't null, and it can't be null.
Right.
So we don't need this. And that's the old error that we've always had there. So let's do it again. Let's try and run this in now null safe world. And if we don't succeed, then I think we're calling it a day. We had a good run. We moved from code that was like some of it I'm pretty sure was from 2018 to code that runs in the latest stable version of Flutter, and it seems like, I mean, the old bugs are still there, but some of the bugs were actually found and no longer are a problem. And yeah, and look at that. I think. Oh no.
No.
I spoke too soon. I spoke
More
too
errors.
soon. Yeah. Anyway, I just want you to see the glorious app running, even though it's loading forever. But at least it's running. We see some pixels on the screen, and what is in front of us is, handling all that. Somehow there's some problem here that we need to address, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it'd be some sort of combination of our article based class and what it presumes could or could not be null, and what the generated code out of that presumed or not should be null.
I agree.
It's still the unimplemented error is kind of uninformative there, but it's almost a red herring, misleading sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not very helpful. I'll say that.
But undefined behavior implies null to me in some ways.
Yes, undefined behavior for a message. Well, we need to end somewhere.
Yep.
So thanks for watching. I think we already summarized what we've achieved so far today. I hope this was helpful. And maybe next time we'll be able to actually get this running. Thanks for watching again.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.